Majo John Madden, Juanito is my nickname down here in Mexico. And I am in the little pueblo of Acamal in between Playa del Carmen and Tulum in the Riviera Maya. The end point of my 4.5 year journey through the southwest US and 20 months in Mexico. And I guess I'm sounding so monotone now because I'm trying hard not to sound as strung out as I am after an amazing night in my little casita. This was all recently built by my dear friend Marcos Chan, a Mayan man himself. Yeah. Oh, what a night. Late December 1963. It was such a special time for me. That's a song I downloaded recently. I'm crazy about music. And my long, crazy night started with me sleeping several hours and then getting up and being in this exact position, uh, shooting a 15-minute video about my 6-day involvement with the Matamoros cartel, which is a true story. And I didn't go back to bed right away. One of the ways I remind myself that I don't know too much. I know an awful lot, but I like to say that a sign of wisdom, I'm 78 now, is realizing how much you don't know. So one of the ways I tease myself about not knowing too much is there's a little song fragment I sing to myself where I'll sing, I don't know about too many things. Those are the only words I know from that song. So I sang that to myself. And a recent preoccupation of mine has been the Gemini Google AI app, looking things up that way and getting the stories behind them. And so I plugged that in. I went to Gemini and said, what can you tell me about this song lyric? I think it's the 1990s by kind of a folk pop singer, cute blonde girl, and I sure can't remember her name, but that song fragment haunts me, and I can picture her singing it. So Gemini and I went back and forth for probably 15, 20 minutes, not able to find it. And I had given him the wrong whatever it is, Gemini, the wrong lyric, because the actual lyric is, I'm not aware of too many things. And it was the 80s. I did go back to the 80s. We never found it. And I finally I'm developing a bit of a personal relationship with Gemini. I said, I'm beat. I'm going to bed now. Thanks for trying so hard. And Gemini said, well, maybe when you have good sleep. Maybe when you wake up, that name will pop in your head. And sweet dreams. And I said to Gemini, down here in Mexico, they say descanse, sweet dreams. I didn't tell Gemini I learned that from a Tamaulipas state cop who said it to me after he had looked in on me in my camper van and discovered there was no problem. We spoke Spanish for a long time, and before he left, he said descanse. And I said, no conozco esta palabra. I've not encountered that word. And tall, handsome Tamaulipas state cop said, sweet dreams. That's a cop. Tucked me in outside of Tampico, Mexico. So, see, this is not hanging together. It's going to be a crazy story. So, I did go back to sleep and slept for maybe an hour and woke up and I went, Edie Brickell. Sure, yeah, Edie Brickell. So I plugged that in to Google and ended up with about 11, I think I've got 11 or 12 links in my new Edie Brickell contact. And I found the original song, What I Am, from 1988, her and Edie Brickell and the New Bohemians. And it said VH1 called that song one of the top one-hit wonders of the 80s. And so I watched the YouTube video and I went, she's awful cute, but I don't even find her all that attractive anymore. Why have I always been haunted by that song? And I was playing a playlist that I downloaded from Spotify of Edie Brickell. I was going, I don't even like these songs that much. No wonder she was a one-hit wonder. She's not very talented. But I kept digging and found that she was married to Paul Simon, who's one of, I'm obsessed with music, and he's probably one of 5 or 6 artists of my top obsession. I actually saw him and Art Garfunkel in concert in a little, it was a big meeting room. It wasn't even an auditorium at Mundelein College, which is the girls' Catholic college next to my co-ed Catholic college, Loyola, on the north side of Chicago. And I even, when I was in Chicago in my 4 years on the road in the fall of 21, I tried to get into that meeting room because I also saw Taj Mahal there, who's one of the other top 5 or 6. And threw my neck out. In the little Catholic girls' college, I threw my neck out chair dancing to Taj Mahal, which I bet nobody else was doing back then. So I tried to get in there, and then the campus was closed. You had to have an ID to get in there. So, wow, Paul Simon. And I looked that up. They've been married for 30 years. They met on the stage of Saturday Night Live, where she was doing a musical performance, maybe hosting, I don't know. And Saturday Night Live is, so in my spirituality, I've been saying for a long time, the 2 things I know about spirituality, maybe 3. God is not a dude. God is not a person. Life is connected. It's not chaos. Somehow life is connected. And the second principle is life is intelligent. It keeps sending us the experiences we absolutely need to have. And this, here tonight, sitting on the side of this bed, that's been one of those, like, holy shit, Paul Simon. Okay, dug a little further. Steve Martin. And the picture of one of their albums didn't even look like him. I thought some other dude named Steve Martin. No, it's the Steve Martin from Saturday Night Live, which my wife and I followed the first season 50-some years ago. We watched that whole season. And I've been obsessed with Saturday. I keep trying to tell people in Mexico about Saturday Night Live, but nobody knows about Saturday Night Live, nor do they know about Second City, the big feeder for Saturday Night Live, the comedy club in Chicago, where I took improv classes a long time ago with a woman named Charna Halpern, who's on Wikipedia. No, try to tell Mexicans about Saturday Night Live. It goes nowhere. So they met at Saturday Night Live, her and Paul Simon. And then Steve Martin. What's the deal with Steve Martin? Is she married to him now? No. They have been music collaborators since 2013. Steve Martin, I lived for 16 years in Asheville, North Carolina, which recently got decimated by storms after Hurricane Helene. I lived there for 16 years, and that my journey, my 4.5 years, started from there. And we all knew that Steve Martin had moved in. He was living just south of Asheville. And they collaborated on a musical called Bright Star, which is about those Blue Ridge Mountains, which I adore. I wanted never to leave there. I finally got allergic to them. Living in a camper van in the National Forest, the spring of 21, I got allergic and had to leave. And that musical, Bright Star, is about the Blue Ridge Mountains in 1946, the year I was born. And I'm so haunted by what's happened to Asheville, that whole area. I was camping in a camper van a lot of the time, in a camper van right alongside the French Broad River, the huge river, the granddaddy of the rivers in that area. And if I had been there September 28th of this year, when the storms hit, I'd have been fucked. So I don't know. 10 minutes, we're going to cap it here. I'd love to stop videos at 10 minutes. That seems about the most you should ask of anybody. Let me just pose this question to you. Listening to this story, Edie Brickell is certainly not a one-hit wonder. What an amazing career and what a great marriage. She's been married to Paul Simon for 30 years. And guys my age, Paul Simon, Steve Martin, both right around my age, also haunted by her. Also haunted by her. So the question I ask of you, if you're still hanging in with this stupid video, can you say after listening to this video that life is chaos? No, it's all connected. It is all connected. I don't know how or why, how all that works, but it ain't an accident, folks. What happens to us in our lives is not an accident. Okay, I'm going to try to go back to that. It's 6:30 now. The roosters are crowing all around this end of the pueblo, which is pretty wild, just carved out of the jungle 8 years ago. I'm going to go soak my head in the Caribbean. I am living my best life here in this funny little pueblo. It is a cockamamie little pueblo, but I get to swim in the Caribbean, and I'm a pretty lucky guy. Okay, bye.